Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Executive Board, 25th of March. It's good to see you all here. There's a good number here, but I know that's for the Special Council. But we've got a lot to cover on Executive Board as well, which will be really of interest to many people. So first of all, apologies for absence, Lawrence, if we may.
Apologies received from Councillor Beverley Hardman.
Thank you. Any declarations of interest? Councillor Birch.
Thank you, Chairman. Agenda item 18, I'm a trustee of Wychavon Leisure, so won't be able to take part in the vote, but can take part in the debate.
Thank you. Any other declarations of interest? No, thank you. Minutes of the previous meeting, any matters arising? No, are we all in favour? So moving on to leaders' announcements. There's several, if I may. First is local government reorganisation. I think this is going to be a consistent item that I will talk about. So the government consultation on LGR proposals is open until 11:59 tomorrow night, Thursday the 26th of March. So I would ask all councillors to ensure that you have fed back on the survey and that you've made friends, family, and all the people you may have contact with complete the survey as well. We need to get our message across. Please respond if you haven't already done so and encourage your own town and parish councils. Between Paul and I, we've been to a few parish councils and had written responses, which has been great to have that dialogue. It's vital that everyone has their right to be heard on this extremely important matter. The government has just announced decisions in respect of the devolution priority areas. That's Norfolk and Suffolk, Greater Essex, Sussex and Brighton, and Hampshire and Solent. So they're kind of part of the fast track. And it's really interesting what decisions the government has made. So that's only come out today, but we will be looking at that to see if there's any learnings or any knowledge that we need to glean from that. Second item is fantastic news, I would say, and that is the Riverside in Evesham. We have bought the Riverside. Hopefully you're up to date with the news and the press releases that we've been given. It's not about buying a shopping centre, though. Wychavon has bought a shopping centre, but what Evesham is doing is paving the way to transform Evesham town centre. That's what this is about. It's just a stage in the journey to ensure that we really revitalise and really bring the vision and the image to Evesham that we believe is right for Evesham, and that we've had the consultation on the town prospectus to what the residents want as well. Really focusing on the assets of Evesham, whether they're natural, historic, and really making the most of it. So we're on the start of the journey, not the end of the journey. To start that process, we have an engagement event on the 16th of April, 4 till 7 o'clock, in the town hall, and residents, businesses and other stakeholders are invited to drop into the event, which will include more details about the regeneration timeline and provide an opportunity to ask questions. We know it's going to take some time with demolition and then the next stages thereafter, so we will itemise that at the engagement event. I'd like to say well done to Councillor Kersey on her media terms today, yesterday and today. So thank you very much for really getting the message out there and supporting us with that. But mostly I would like to thank Team Wychavon, and especially our legal, property and planning representatives that have spent hours and hours and hours, cancelled holidays, and really put every effort in to try and get this over the line. It's been complex, it's been difficult, but they have shown every strength of what Wychavon is about in achieving that. So thank you so much to them. But in addition, I would like to thank our own senior management team, who all individually have played their role in trying to get this key objective for Wychavon to be a success. So we're very honoured to have the senior management team that we have. They work diligently and represent Team Wychavon, that's officers and members together, to get the right messages across and achieve the right outcomes. So Riverside, watch now. We're at the start of the journey. Raven Hotel, we are not at the start of the journey, but it just shows the projects we have and the work that we're putting in to try and get to the success. So the immediate priority is public safety, and so we're preparing a legal documentation to required work to be done. We're also considering longer-term options for the site, working with key partners. So this is one that will still unfold. We know that the building is in a really bad state, and we know it needs urgency, but we have to follow due process in what we're looking to do. It's privately owned. We've got to do things correctly in trying to get the outcomes we want. For playgrounds, I don't know whether you've all been made aware of this. It was announced a few days ago that Wychavon is one of 66 councils set to receive up to 270,000 each to improve playgrounds for their local communities through the government's new 18 million playground fund announced in the autumn budget. We are eligible to receive this funding to improve or create 3 playgrounds in local areas most in need. We are currently looking into this and will keep you informed of progress with this initiative. So that's great news. We probably do criticise this government on occasions that they're not looking at the rural area, and councils like ours, in this they have. So we have to thank them for that, and hopefully we can do great things. Local council network, different name. It used to be called the District Council Network. They've now rebranded Local Council Network. The Chief Executive and I attended the conference in Windsor last week. As you would expect, local government review dominated most of the conference, but we did witness the unveiling of the new name and the new brand, and it's now the Local Council Network. One of the things that hit home to me, and I've mentioned this to some people already, so sorry for repeating it, but one of the last presentations was from 3 Surrey boroughs, so kind of a district, that are going through local government review, and they presented their journey and where they're at the conference. And it really was powerful, talking about their transition to unitary. They talked about the difficulties, the obstacles, and how much work was involved. Their message was to ensure we work collaboratively and prioritise. They stressed you must consider capacity due to the work involved, and we must consider our workforce, because it is very much a time of change for them. It is for members, but for our staff some have been here 40 plus years, it is a mammoth change. So we have to have consideration in that moving forward. This morning, we held our business breakfast with over 80 businesses attending. It was a great event, considering the often difficult business climate. But businesses were very clear and enthusiastic to hear the support we are giving in our 26-27 budget. So we really launched the Growth Wychavon Fund and the Rural Fund. So thanks to Emma Ridley and again all the Wychavon team for organising that and the work they put in. And finally, I'd just like to talk about tourism, my own portfolio. But it was terrific to hear our very own Mick Hurst be crowned Visit England's tourism superstar for 2026. So we will be expecting him to get a cape. But as Visit England's tourism superstar, he is a nationally recognised individual now by Visit England, and the first Worcestershire winner ever. So I think from all of us, we say a collective well done to Mick and a big thank you for everything he does. But also at Friday's Visit Worcestershire Tourism Awards, our district saw many winners and many businesses recognised. Indeed, Battle of Evesham won the event of the year. The Lincoln Arms, the Hotel of the Year, the Fleece, the Pub of the Year, Breed and View Glamping Retreats won an award for the glamping, Lakeside Adventures, and there were many highly commended. Well Furlong Retreats, Eckington Manor, Offendon Park and Touring Park, Broadway Museum and Art Gallery with butter churning experience, the Angel Inn Hotel, Aztec Adventure, Honeybourne Pottery and the Queen Elizabeth Inn. I think you can tell that Wychavon did remarkably well at the Visit Worcestershire Awards. So well done to all of them. We're very proud of all the businesses in Wychavon. So that is leaders' announcements. So over to public question time, Lawrence.
There have been no questions from the public received for this meeting.
Thank you. So we'll move to report on urgent decisions, and I'll pass to Councillor Stokes.
Thank you, Leader. Good evening. Throughout the last 12 months, you will have seen that there's a report coming forward describing schemes that have come forward outside the normal meeting schedule. These decisions are never a good idea to make outside of these schedules, but sometimes we do have to make fleet-of-foot decisions. There have been 4. They have been Pershall Motors, Willow Court and 2 for Wychavon Town. So really it is to summarise, those 4 decisions were made quickly, brought to executive, but they were made outside of the normal meeting schedule. So it's just a summary of those reports in this past 12 months. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'm happy to second that. Any questions from the board? Any questions from members? Okay, we'll take the vote. All in favour?
It's just for noting.
Oh, noting. Okay, don't take the vote. We'll rewind on that. So item 7, 26 to 27, We Are Wychavon update. So this is pages 23 to 26. So the We Are Wychavon plan is our commitment to our residents about how we will improve the district for the period from 2024 up to 2028. So effectively, at this moment, the end of Wychavon, and to make it an even better place to live, work and visit. You will know that we set 3 priority areas: people, where the vision was to providing opportunities for everyone, raising young people's aspirations and helping people to live healthier lives; place, helping everyone to access a good place to live, supporting businesses to thrive and creating vibrant and accessible places; and the environment. So boosting our natural environment, cutting carbon emissions and building resilience to climate change. And sitting under that, we had 27 promises that we still are working on many of those promises because it goes up to 2028. I'm pleased to move the recommendations in 2.1 and 2.2 with a new promise to deliver £500,000 of small grants to support community groups, boost biodiversity and help improve the energy efficiency of local buildings by 31st of March 2028, and approve a 2-year extension to the timescale for our current health and wellbeing champions bike hire schemes promises for recommendation to Council on the 15th of April 2026. So I know these were supported by our ONS budget scrutiny and a request by our portfolio holder and carbon reduction panel. Supporting our community groups in Wychavon is what we do well and what we want to continue to do, and support our communities across Wychavon. So I'm happy to propose. Ask to Councillor Adams to second.
Yes.
Thank you. Possibly. So any questions from the exec board? No. Any questions from members? No. All take a vote.
That's unanimous.
Thank you. We'll move on to item 8, homelessness and rough sleeping strategy, approval for public consultation. And we'll pass to Councillor Rick Deller.
Thank you, Chair. I have a little bit to say on this. That is because this document matters. Not the comfortable version, not the version we tell ourselves because we don't want to see it on our streets. The full truth, the raw, the human and the unavoidable. About what homelessness really looks like, who it touches, and why we cannot stand still. Tonight I formally propose this strategy goes to consultation because we cannot ignore what it is telling us. If anyone says we do not need more housing, yes, we need to look at infrastructure-led and brownfield sites, etc. But if anyone says we do not need more housing, they need to read this. And they need to really read this, because this document does not deal with in opinions. It deals in reality. Homelessness is not just rough sleeping. It is hidden. It is families trapped in temporary accommodation. It is children temporary staying in a single room in a B&B, eating, sleeping, living, all in one space. It is parents taking their toddlers to the bathroom just to shower because they cannot leave them alone. They cannot lock the door. That is not acceptable, not anywhere, not in our community, and not on our watch. Yes, maybe we don't always see it here, but that does not mean it's not happening. It is real and it is growing. The numbers are as follows. On our housing register, we have 2,704 people. In temporary accommodation, currently we have 54 people, and we currently have 6 verified rough sleepers. But behind every number is a person, though, a family, a child. And far too many of them are living in situations we should never accept as normal. That is why this document matters, because it does not just describe the problem. It sets a determination to change it, to eliminate unsuitable temporary accommodation, not to reduce it, not to manage it, but to eliminate it. We know what unsuitable TA means. It means children without stability, families without dignity, and lives on hold. And every single day someone spends in that situation is a day too long. And we cannot manage that. We have to end it. But how do we end it? By prevention, prevention, prevention. We have to get upstream, earlier conversations, earlier interventions, stronger partnerships, acting before the crisis hits and not after. Partnerships are everything. We cannot do prevention in isolation. It takes all of us. It takes health, housing, community groups, support services, working together and sharing responsibility. Stepping in sooner, catching people before they fall. Because when we do that, we do not just respond to homelessness, we stop it from happening. And nowhere is that more important than with our young people. Youth homelessness should stop us in our tracks. Young people at the very start of their lives facing instability, uncertainty and fear. We cannot accept a future where that is normal. Through Merstow Place and soon to be through Belvoir House, we are delivering real solutions to youth homelessness, getting young people back on track, equipping them with the skills, equipping them with the confidence, preparing them not just for housing, but for life beyond it. If we get prevention right, for young people, we change the trajectory of their entire lives. That is the scale of what is at stake. And that is why this strategy matters. Because it's not just about today. It's about the future we are choosing to create. What gives me hope, and it really gives me hope, is the team behind this. We have an incredible team, a team who are under pressure, but not standing still, shifting footing from reacting to crises to preventing them, from being overwhelmed by demand to getting ahead of it. That is courage, that is commitment, and that is leadership, and that comes from Jen downwards. And I would like to thank Laura Marshall and Pete Stock, who is with us today. Pete is actually leaving us at the end next month. And Pete's been a real star in that team. And anyone who's had any involvement with him would know that. And Pete, we really thank you for all your work. Because this document is more than a document. This is a line in the sand. Yes, it aligns with national direction, but let's be clear. We are not following, we are moving. And we are already pushing ahead. We're already leading with prevention at our core. And now we take this forward. This strategy goes out to consultation. I urge everyone to get involved, to engage with it, because it affects real people. It affects our residents in real ways in every single day. When we talk about building homes, this is why. When we say we need to act, this is why. Because behind every delay is another child growing up in one room, another family without stability, another young person at risk of falling through the cracks, and we cannot accept that. We will not accept that. Prevention, prevention, prevention. That's why I say it, because it matters. Prevention is how we stop this. Prevention is how we eliminate unsuitable TA. Prevention is how we protect our young people. And prevention is how we build a better future. That is why, with everything in me, I am proud to propose this strategy tonight.
Well done, Rick. Thank you. And I echo everything you said about the housing team, and would personally like to thank Peter as well for all the work he's done, and wish you well, sir. Thank you. Can we have a seconder? Councillor Adams, please.
Happy to second this. It's always a pleasure, isn't it, to follow Rick, because he covers the subject so well, with so much polish and panache and all the rest of it, that you can't help but go along with what he says. But what he says tonight is what we want to hear. We want good consultation on this, and we have a good strategy there. So I'm really happy to second this motion.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Any questions from members? Councillor Boatwright-Green.
First of all, I'm not wishing Pete well. How dare you leave? And I'm very, very upset, and I'm going to keep it that way. I suppose I should wish you well, but no, I'm not allowing it. I think it's been fair to say that the previous version of this document I was very scathing of. I just didn't think it had an action plan that was moving in the right direction. What I can see here is a massive shift, and I have to say that I went straight to the action plan. That's where I went to see what we're actually going to do. The lived experience is in there. There's some fantastic things about veterans. I think it is a huge step in the right direction, and does exactly what I hope would then create a strategy moving us forward where homelessness will become something that stops. I completely understand the parameters we're living within. I completely understand the situation we have with social homes. I completely understand the situation we have with private rentals. I think this does give us something to work with. So yes, I will of course respond to the consultation, and I have a sneaking suspicion it might be a little bit more positive than the last time I engaged with a document like this. So a massive thank you to everyone who's been involved in this process and got this moving. Are you sure you want to leave, Pete? Are you sure? Just, one more year, one more? It was worth a try, but thank you.
Cheers, Dan. That's good to hear. Thank you. Can we take the vote then, please?
That's unanimous.
Okay, item 9, intelligently green review. In Councillor Hardman's absence, I'm taking that. So this paper sets out a proposed review of the intelligently green plan, the current version of the plan adopted in 2020. So we're looking to agree the recommendations in 2.1. The current intelligently green plan includes a commitment to undertake a full review of the plan 5 years after adoption. Therefore, work has been ongoing throughout 2025 and 2026 to date to undertake this review. Principally, this has involved considering whether the overall vision, priorities, and individual actions continue to be relevant, up to date, and reflective of projects and priorities of the Council. The plan was discussed in detail at the Carbon Reduction Panel over a series of meetings. The panel gave their support for the review to be submitted to the Executive Board. We also held an all-member seminar in February to give everyone the chance to hear about the review and to make amendments, and I thank Matt for taking us through that. The overall vision, targets and priority areas of the plan have stayed the same, the only exception being the inclusion of climate change and adaptation, which reflects the promise we have on this. The key areas of change have been to the actions under the 4 priority areas of energy, low carbon, transport, natural environment, and policy and resources. By and large, the principle and the thrust of the actions remain the same, but they have been refined to focus on the key actions to enable us as a council to reduce our own emissions and help reduce those of the wider district. They have also been updated and new actions added to reflect our current projects and priorities, with some actions removed where they were not able to be delivered or not having much influence. The Exec Board report provides a summary of the main changes under each priority area. You may ask how local government review affects this, and it is our desire that this plan helps to form a legacy for the Council, as well as recommending the key carbon reduction and climate change actions that the new unitary authority should continue to prioritise. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Stoke.
Thank you, Leader. Being at the iteration, or the first iteration in 2012 and becoming the Executive Board member in 2013, it's an absolute pleasure to see this strategy rolling forward. And I will draw your attention to the word intelligently green. It's the ability to be flexible, to roll with the things as they change, as things come forward which are more modern, more efficient, more easier to introduce, more quickly and get better results. So rather than remaining rigid, we have remained intelligent and rolled on. So happy to second the recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Any questions from members? Councillor Charles Tucker?
Yes, Leader. I am pleased with this revision of the Intelligent Green Plan, and I think it has moved on substantially from the previous versions. And picking up the point that Councillor Stokes had just made, if one interprets intelligently, in terms of being willing to be flexible and to look for new opportunities beyond what is actually within the document. I'm thinking specifically about the national objective of 30 by 30, providing 30% of land for nature by 2030, which we all know is very far from being achieved. And although I know that Wychavon has got a number of projects on the go for this, I'd like to see us look very carefully all the time for new opportunities to achieve more during that period. Thank you.
We always look to achieve more, but capacity and resources considering. Councillor Stokes?
Yes, I mean, I think this is the type of work that we need to channel through the newly named Carbon Reduction Panel. Are you on that, Charles? Do you?
Climate and Nature Panel.
That's correct. I think it's, if you could direct your questions about 30 by 30 through that would be helpful, because then that informs our decision making. Thank you.
Very good. Any further questions? No? Are we all in agreement?
That's unanimous.
Thank you. Moving on to item 10. This is a few of the planning actions which Councillor Kersey will take us through. So the first one is affordable housing, SPD approval to consult.
Thank you, Chairman. And with your permission, I would like to take items 10 to 14 together, if I may. So they are all supplementary planning documents, and it's for the Executive Board to agree to go out to consultation on these supplementary planning documents. Those of you that attended the SWDPR training session on Monday will know the reason that sits behind the supplementary planning documents, and that is because moving forward with the National Planning Policy Framework, things are going to change, that they need to then be adopted before, I think it's June this year, to make sure that we can include them within the SWDPR, as long as obviously that's adopted later this evening. So that's the reason why we want to go out to consultation on those. So we have the affordable housing, air quality, developer contributions, sustainable buildings, which is particularly for larger schemes. But then the one that I would like to speak to you about in depth is number 14, which is the design code. Now, yes, it's a supplementary planning document, but I most certainly won't just take it in that context. So several years ago, then Councillor Bradley Thomas went forward with Create Streets because he wanted to be able to create a exemplar design across Wychavon, and that was the ambition, that's what we wanted to do, and we wanted to create a sense of place so that you had that sense of pride and that community in where that you live, because he was really fed up with the matchbox, everything looking identikit schemes that were coming out from particular developers at the time. So we commissioned Create Streets to go ahead with that work, and they did some wonderful work for us. And as I was then the portfolio holder for planning and infrastructure, I had the pleasure of facilitating a meeting with developers when we first went out to consultation on the design code. Now, I was surprised in two ways, but the biggest surprise that I had is I thought that the developers were going to kick back on this, but there wasn't a sense of that at all. What developers said is that they wanted to be told what they needed to do and what was going to be acceptable and what was going to be welcomed. But the problem with the design code as it was, in the format it was then, it was meant that, for example, it didn't sit in line with the county's streetscape guide, and so it meant that streets couldn't be adopted. So you'd have large developments where the streets couldn't be adopted. And so what they basically were saying was, we want to adhere to all of this. We appreciate that it's a code, not a guide, because as we know, I've constantly said, it's not a guide, it's a code. It never has been. It was always intended to be a code. And they did want to comply with that, but they couldn't see how they could with the basis of the design code. So Ian and I had many discussions about the design code. And many months ago, we agreed that we were going to not go back to square one, but it was going to be put over to Jo Bounds. Now, to say that the presentation that Jo gave to me a few weeks ago, she said to me that she'd put her heart and soul into this work, but I probably could have sensed that from the way that she went through the presentation. It's absolutely fantastic work, and I hope that you've all looked through it all in detail, because to have somebody like Create Streets do the design code for us, and to then, in theory, take it in-house, I was initially, it's probably fair to say, Ian, wasn't it? I was a bit concerned about that happening. But Jo has done an absolutely amazing job, and she's taken the original Create Streets design code to be something far more than it was ever intended to be. So it's really more a step-by-step, if you like, guide through the process for developers. But what it does, it means that because it talks about what we need from them, but most importantly why we need it, it means that there's no excuse whatsoever for developers to put anything that is substandard before any of our planning officers, because it tells them exactly from start to finish the process that they need to follow, what we need from them, and why we need it in the particular areas. And there's some absolutely fantastic, well, all of it is a fantastic piece of work that Jo has done. And Jo, I'd really like to give you my massive thanks for all the work, because clearly you have put your heart and soul into it. And that is evident from all the work. And so thank you very much. We, as a council, are very grateful for the work that you've done. And most certainly all of your planning colleagues and all the planning committee, because I actually gave up after quite a while saying to developers when they came to planning committee, can you tell me how this aligns with the emerging design code, because we weren't able to do it. But what you've put before us totally does that. And what it talks about is really how for developers to interpret the context of what's needed from them and how to connect their site with the boundaries. So it's all about the context of where they want their development to be, so that it's not just some eyesore that everybody hates and nobody has a pride of place in living there. It's really connecting with the environment. If you've got a development that's on the edge of a village or the edge of a settlement, it's how it then connects to those boundaries. So it does everything for them, and it's also got in there, it's got the musts and the shoulds. And we've dropped the cans, because a can isn't really, you could kick a can down the road, can't you? But we've now got must and shoulds. So the thing that I always wanted, and this was the thing that Bradley started out with, is to say we want a code and it's very clear what you need to do, and therefore please don't come to our door with something that is substandard. And I think it will only take a couple of times for somebody to come at substandard. They'll be sent off with their tail between their legs. But also the facilitation session that I did with the developers, I think they will absolutely welcome this with open arms, because we're telling them what they need to do and why they need to do it. And a lot of my planning committee colleagues will be very pleased to say, when we've got SUDs, this is all about making it a feature as opposed to the how many times do we hear bomb crater. And I did think of you, Charles, to be fair, when I was going through this with Jo. And it's fantastic things like that, things that we must have, but then they enhance the development as opposed to obscure it and make it like bomb craters. So thank you again, Jo, and I'm sure if you haven't already gone through it, you will be extremely extremely impressed with it. It very much, to my mind, fits the bill that Bradley was looking for that long period of time ago, but I think it actually goes far further than that. So it's a document that we can very proudly get behind, but also we can very, very proudly in the planning committee say to a developer, how does this align with our design code? But hopefully by the time it's so exemplar, by the time it comes to planning committee, we won't need to ask those questions. So, Chairman, if I can, please, if I can propose the supplementary planning documents at 2.1 on page 130, 190, 238 and 300, and 2.1 and 2.2 on page 376.
Thank you, and well said. So we are taking together items 11 to 14. So that's air quality SPD, approval to consult, developer contributions.
10 to 14.
Oh, 10, sorry, 10. Affordable housing SPD. I don't draw my lines in the right places. Approval to consult air quality, developer contributions, sustainable buildings SPD, and Wychavon design code, all to consult. I'm happy to second. I'm glad you mentioned Bradley, because I was on the council with Bradley, and he was very, very strong on design code. So he would be so pleased today, I think, that we are looking to take this to consultation. And I must pay respect to Chris as well, who followed on with that from Bradley and really put it at the forefront. So thank you, Chris, for the work you did too to try and get to that. But mostly I must thank you, Emma, for driving it and to get to a result, for Ian, but our planning team, who have come on superbly well for each of the areas that you've written and trying to push forward. Joe, I endorse exactly what Emma said. Your passion for what you've come up with is superb. So thank you. I'm happy to second. Any questions or any area that the board would want to speak on of these SPDs? Members, any questions? Chris, Councillor Day.
I think just on the design code, so we obviously went out to consultation previously when we had the 4 documents, and we were the ones who'd asked for them to be geographically split as councillors, as I recall. We wanted one for Broadway, we wanted one for the north, and so on. And we've ended up with one, which I'm sure is an improvement. I think from a point of view of a developer, it's going to be a lot easier to work with this one document, and it is beautifully laid out, I have to say. I just wondered, given that we've already consulted publicly with one set of documents and now we're going to go out because we've got a statutory requirement to do so for 5 weeks with this second document, whether it mightn't be a bad thing, at least for us internally, to have a reconciliation between the things that have changed between the two, or the main ones that have altered. And if not, why not?
Councillor Kersey.
I wouldn't suggest really that it. I think hopefully I brought to the table the journey that the design code's gone through, and the fact that, as beautiful as it was, the design code as it was wasn't achievable. So I don't think we can go out to people to say these are the differences, because it's a completely different document. It's not where we've just made changes to things. It's a completely different document. And the feedback that we had from the developers is clear. They wanted to have this and they welcomed it, but in its form, it wasn't any use to them because they couldn't comply with it. You can't have, 100% of developers not being able to have roads adopted. Something that I didn't mention, though, is that with the work that we've done with the design code, because obviously we are the only local planning authority that are going forward with the design code, we've actually been able to make changes with the County Council streetscape, because I've ensured that the County Council have liaised with Wychavon. So we are in a much stronger place that, first of all, we've influenced the county's streetscape guide, but it also means that the design code can then sit alongside that better, so it's far more achievable for developers. But I can't see any benefit in trying to say these are the changes, because it's a completely different document. So I wouldn't really want us to confuse the two. We went out to consultation, and that's the point. We listened to consultation, unlike the government. And so we went away and really went back, not from scratch, but we went away and we've produced something completely different, which I'm sure will be extremely welcomed by all the parties involved.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? No. Can we take a vote then? So we're voting on 10 to 14. All in agreement? Thank you.
That's unanimous.
Item 15, which is Stoulton Conservation Area Appraisal and Management Plan, and I'll pass to Councillor Middleborough.
Thank you, Leader. I mean, say, many of us, probably all of us, will have driven through Stoulton on one day or many days, probably. But you've never probably really noticed what's off to the left and to the right, going down to the church in Stoulton and going down Froggery Lane on the other side. And I think you'll get a feel of what is actually there and why there should be a conservation area in Stoulton. So I think that's absolutely wonderful that this work has been done, and I would commend the officers who've been involved. And it's even more important at the moment because of Wychavon town, because Stoulton becomes almost the centre of a donut within the development of Wychavon town. So I think what we've got here is a clear record as to where we are today, the reasons why it is a conservation area. I would just make one comment which perhaps Councillor Kersey can take on board. In relation to conservation areas, when we do them, I think it would be very useful to actually have a film record of the areas, because that does rather set the ambience, I think, much more than photographs through hedges. And so if we could think about that for future conservation area work, and then it's on record, and even more important with Wychavon town coming on. And the other important thing about this one is that the area of the conservation area has been changed, and it's been changed to include some more, not a great deal, but more agricultural land on the edge of the village, which in terms of future developments and things is important to have it within the conservation area. So I'd like to move the recommendations on page 563, because a lot of pages aren't there, and I just move those as recommendations which flow over onto 564.
Thank you. Councillor Adams, are you happy to second?
Very, very happy, I will say, Leader, on this. What a quality piece of work. The only question I have is Rebecca in the room? Well done. Very well done for all of it. Thanks all round tonight, and particularly for you for this piece of work. The brightness of the photographs in there and the quality of it, I'm full of admiration for your work. Let's see more of these conservation areas come forward, and hope they're to the quality of this one. So very happy to second the recommendation.
That's brilliant, thank you. Any questions from the board? Any questions from members? Councillor Robinson, just in time. Look at that.
Perfect timing.
How did you do that?
But I'd just like to say I'm delighted with the attention to detail that's gone into this conservation area review. Stoulton are pleased with it. I'm pleased with it. Thank you all very much.
That's a good enough endorsement, thank you. Any further questions? No? All in favour? Somebody
That's
needs
unanimous.
Somebody needs to take a tablet. Okay, so now it's item 16, which is references from committees, and I'll pass over to Councillor Adams, please.
Thank you, Leader. And can I say, just before I start this, I wasn't asleep at the start of this meeting. I didn't vote on the minutes because I wasn't here at the last meeting. I don't know where I was, but I wasn't here. That covers that up. So, just to go through one or two things from our meeting on Monday of the panel. Firstly, a new homes bonus allocation to Pershaw. This came back again for the meeting just to get an indication of what they wanted to do with the money. You may remember, you may not, that they were allocated £135,000 with a new homes bonus. That had already been agreed, and they have now asked for an allocation for fitness equipment on King George's Field. That's by the leisure centre there. And through this and on the meeting on there, the panel were very keen that that land is up to flood, that the equipment will be put down safely and remain safe from flooding issues. So the recommendation over that one is that the allocation of £20,483.65 from Pershore Town Council's New Homes Bonus be approved for provision of outdoor fitness equipment on King George's Field, Pershore, and delivery to be completed before the 1st of April 2028. I think you all realise why that date is in there, subject to the Town Council confirming that the equipment will be installed on appropriate flood-resilient surface and that the equipment itself is designed to be flood-resistant. So there we are, that's that one. And then the recommendations to the Executive Board on the 26th of March, Community Funding Advisory Panel, and this is about climate and nature panel. You've had an email about this that goes into some detail. So just a little bit of detail that I have a paragraph here. The two panels commented on proposals for the management and delivery of a new 500,000 Wychavon Community Resilience Small Grant Scheme. There are three distinctive elements to this funding. A, small grants to support community groups. B, grants to boost biodiversity. And C, grants to help improve energy efficiency of community buildings. And therefore the recommendation over that one at the panel was that the proposed for the management and delivery of these small grants outlined in the attached report and the role of communities and funding and climate and nature advisory panel be assumed the applications and recommending grant awards be approved. Now, I really want all members to get on board with this. You had an email earlier yesterday, don't want to go through that. I've got a copy here. But this is 500,000 that you can get on and show interest in this. And I'm sure that the areas you deal with and your awards, that they could benefit from a piece of this action. So there it is, the recommendation. Just one or two other points so I can just look on that came up under the recommendations from the Funding Advisory Panel. Two assets of community value were listed: the Sue Market Nicer Local at Broadway and Ballards Park, Badsey, and that was put forward by Badsey Community and Sports Clubs. So two assets of community values, and also two community stars were approved. I shan't go into the detail of who they were because I don't know, because I don't give the names out at the panel, but they were supported there. And there was a bit of an upgrade, well, more than a little bit, of the community legacy grants, round 4 and 5. There, we're just chasing one or two just to wrap up there what they're asking for on that. So quite a busy day on that, or afternoon, to cover quite a bit of business there. Thank you.
Thank you, and it's good news about all the money going to the community again, so thank you very much, Rob. Councillor Middlebury.
Thank you, Leader. I mean, I'm really pleased to support these recommendations, but it just bring back to me a memory of the past. That why do we have New Homes Bonus? We have New Homes Bonus because the then Secretary of State, one Eric Pickles, had a scheme which was to put money into communities if they were having new houses in their communities. And we developed that scheme, unlike many councils, where we did give it to the communities and have given it to the communities rather than putting it in the general pot. So even all those years on, Pershore's now actually benefiting from the work that Secretary of State, should I say Conservative Secretary of State, has actually put nearly £20,500 into Pershore.
Thank you. Questions from the board, Councillor Stokes?
Yes, sorry, it's not a question, but a thank you really. The Community Star Awards, I believe recently you have given some to Evesham defibrillators, and I was at their AGM because I do their books. I do their books as a private resident, not as a member of this council. And they were so proud distributing at the AGM their certificates, not knowing that I was sat on this executive board, and the pleasure in their faces, it was genuine thanks that they'd been notified or made aware that the fact that the work they do is noticed. So thank you for the Community Stars.
Any further questions? Councillor Kersey?
I couldn't resist, Chairman.
Which one?
Yeah, I wonder. Needless to say, I'm absolutely delighted that the Nissa shop in Broadway has been nominated and has been accepted as an asset of community value. I want to thank Broadway Parish Council for being so quick off the mark. As soon as we knew that it was going to close, I asked them straight away to put in an application. I would say that normally those applications come to myself and Ian, but for that particular one, to make sure that everything was okay, it went to Ian only on his own, because obviously I'm the local ward member. But this shop has been really far more than a shop could ever be. It really is a community area. The number of things that the Nissa shop did was absolutely outstanding and vital to that community of Broadway. And somebody actually wrote to me and said it was actually the lady that delivers sandwiches there, or used to deliver sandwiches there. And she said the goings on, that sounds strange, doesn't it? But all the things that happen in that shop, and all the things that people can, top up their electricity meter, all the sort of things that you can't do at a standard supermarket. She said the actual environment in that shop was absolutely outstanding, and the way that people helped one another. But it is vital to have a shop in that area of Broadway to serve that whole community that's there and far beyond. So I'm very pleased that we've been able to allocate that as an asset of community value. And the way that my social media was been going off, I've never seen anything like it. People are absolutely, they're relieved and they're really thrilled that that's gone. So thank you.
And it demonstrates so well what an asset of community value can be. So we all need to have that in mind when we're faced with the issues of potential closing down of these very vital services. Any further questions from the board? Councillor Adam.
Wanted to make a comment over the community stars. I know, and you all know, there are plenty of people out there to be recognised, and there's still time to bring them forward. Plenty of time. There are these community stars have been going about their business in the villages, doing this and doing that for no reward whatsoever, and they're out there, and we want to see them, and we want to recognise them. So, just get your thinking caps on, and let's have a few more coming forward. Thank you.
Well said, and not just for members here, but for anybody that might be watching. You can do that by going onto Google, Wychavon Community Stars, and you can get to the application form. So anyone can nominate. No more questions here. Any questions from members at all? No? We take a vote. Oh, sorry, Councillor Ward.
Yes, thank you. Just to endorse everything that's been said. I mean, I'm involved in that panel. I chair that panel, and I think it's been a really positive thing in terms of both assets of community value, and especially Community Stars Awards. They are really recognised by people who receive them, not knowing that they are nominated necessarily, and they don't do it for that purpose, but it does have a really positive effect on the volunteers that are nominated. And I urge all councillors, if they've got people in their parish, in their wards or parishes, to look at those volunteers, and if they are worthy of nomination, please put the application in, and to be assessed. But I think it's a really positive aspect to community volunteer groups and individuals, both large and small. So do nominate and put the word into the parishes and wards that do recognise people who do volunteer on a community basis. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark, and thank you for the work you do on the panel. They are a terrific innovation in Community Stars, so that's good. All board members in favour?
That's unanimous.
Thank you. We're now moving on to item 17, which is exclusion of the public and the press. So I have to read out the correct words. So exclusion of the public and press, to consider excluding the public and the press from the meeting by passing the following resolution. So that in accordance with the provision of the local authorities' executive arrangements, access to information, England Regulations 2000 and associated amendment Regulations 2002 and section 100A4 of the Local Government Act 1972, the public and press be excluded from the meeting during the consideration of the following business on the grounds that it involves the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined in paragraph 3 of part 1 of Schedule 12A, an act of the public interest in withholding the information outweighs the public interest in disclosing the information to the